This is what we're doing. I'm going to read this. This is Buddhist Books Podcast, episode 196, Tipiṭaka, part 124, in which we will continue reading Bhikkhunivibhaṅga. Pācittiya, we'll be reading 64, maybe 65 and 66 as well. We shall see. If this is your first time seeing me, you may wish to click up here instead and start at the beginning of the rules for nuns. However, if you would like to start at the beginning of the Tipiṭaka, where it sets up the Tipiṭaka, and then there's all the rules for monks, and then the rules for nuns, this is the beginning of the Tipiṭaka playlist. Okay, you might have noticed that I was gone for a month. And now I'm back. All right, enough about that. Expiation, Pācittiya, 64. At one time, the Enlightened One, the Lord, was staying at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's monastery. Now at that time, the nuns ordained a probationer who had not trained for 2 years in the 6 rules, parentheses, but, and parentheses, who was not agreed upon by the order. I feel like we already read that one, didn't we? No, it must be a slight variation on the previous one. I'll keep reading. Nuns spoke thus, quote, "Come, probationers, find out about this, give this, convey this, make this allowable." End quote. These spoke thus, quote, "Ladies, we are not probationers, we are nuns." End quote. Those who were modest nuns, 3 dots, spread it about, saying, quote, "How can these nuns ordain a probationer who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules, parentheses, but, and parentheses, who is not agreed upon by the order?" End quote, 3 dots. Okay, I get it now. So this is different from the previous one. So the previous one was they ordained someone who had not been trained in the 6 rules for 2 years. Now they're ordaining someone who had been trained in the 6 rules for 2 years, but the order of nuns had not agreed to ordain her. Okay. Quote, "Is it true, as is said, monks, that nuns ordained 3 dots, not agreed upon by the order?" End quote. Quote, "It is true, Lord." End quote. The Enlightened One, the Lord, rebuked them, saying, quote, "How, monks, can nuns ordain 3 dots, not agreed upon by the order? It is not, monks, for pleasing those who are not, parentheses, yet, and parentheses, pleased, 3 dots. And having rebuked them, having given reasoned talk, he addressed the monks, saying, quote, "I allow you, monks, to give the agreement as to ordination to a probationer who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules. And thus, monks, should it be given, that probationer who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules, having approached the order, 3 dots, parentheses, it's the same as in 63. So just like flip back to the previous episode if you want to know all the stuff that goes in here. I don't feel like translating it again. End parentheses, says Ms. Horner. 3 dots, should speak thus, quote within quotes. Ladies, I, so-and-so, a probationer who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules, under the lady so-and-so, in hierarchy, request the order for the agreement as to ordination, end quote, then quotes. And a second time, parentheses, C63, instead of probationer, read probationer who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules. Instead of agreement as to training for 2 years in the 6 rules, read agreement as to ordination. End parentheses, So do I understand this? Do I? I don't know. End quote. Then the Lord, having rebuked the nuns in many a figure for their weakness in maintaining themselves, quote, this rule of training. Whatever nun should ordain a probationer who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules, parentheses, but, end parentheses, who is not agreed upon by the order, there is an offense of expiation, end quote. Whatever means none means 2 years means 2 years. Has trained means has trained in the 6 rules. Not agreed upon means the agreement as to ordination is not given by a parentheses formal end parentheses act at which the motion is followed by one proclamation. Should ordain means parentheses. It's the same as in 61, in Pācittiya 61. I don't want to translate it again. End parentheses, There is no offense if she ordains a probationer who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules and who is agreed upon by the order, if she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer. Okay, all right. Shall I keep reading? So that was 64. Now we're going to Pācittiya 65. And look, we're almost done with the 3rd book. When we're done with the 3rd book, we'll be halfway done with the Vinaya Piṭaka. Anyway, Expiation, Pācittiya 65. At one time, the enlightened one, the Lord, was staying at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's monastery. Now at that time, nuns ordained a girl married for less than 12 years. These were not able to endure cold, heat, hunger, thirst, contact with gadflies, mosquitoes, wind, and sun. Creeping things, abusive, hurtful language, they were not able to endure bodily feelings, which arising are painful, acute, sharp, shooting, disagreeable, miserable, deadly. Those who were modest nuns, spread it about, saying, quote, how can nuns ordain a girl married for less than 12 years? End quote. Quote, is it true, as is said, monks, that nuns ordained married for less than 12 years? End quote. Quote, it is true, Lord. End quote. So, the implication here is that ordaining nuns who have been married for 12 years should be against the rules because women, generally speaking, as we all know, I'm speaking as if I were a person who agreed with what they're saying, which I'm not, cannot endure gadflies and wind if they've only been married for 12 years. So therefore, since we all agree on this already, because it's obvious, it's not obvious, but they're writing it as if it's obvious, then there should be a rule that you shouldn't ordain a nun who's been married for less than 12 years. Note that, monks and nuns can leave their married life and become a monk or a nun. That's been established before. Now, there was a rule against initiating children after, what was his name? The one that we used, Baby Kermit. Ngakpa, Alavi, Avali. He's one of the 10 principal disciples. Anyway, he was a child, apparently, when he was initiated. And so Lord Buddha made the rule that monks have to be 20 years old. And he's about to make a rule that nuns have to have been married for more than 12 years. Implying either they get married when they're 8, which it was a long time ago. I would be horrified, but not all that surprised to find out if that was the case. I'll just keep reading. Let's see where this goes. Quote, how, monks, can nuns ordain a girl married for less than 12 years? Monks, a girl married for less than 12 years is not able to endure cold, bodily feelings, miserable, deadly. Remember that list of stuff? Yeah, so he's just saying, girls that are married for less than 12 years, which in our world would mean they're like around 40, right? Or 34, 35. Never mind, I'll just keep reading. It is not, monks, for pleasing those who are not, parentheses yet, end parentheses, pleased. 3 dots, this rule of training, whatever nun should ordain a girl married for less than 12 years, there is an offensive expiation, end quote. Thumbs down from the reviewer on that rule. Sorry, it was a different time, and I can't wait to be done reading the rules for nuns, because this is going to come up again and again, where it's like, what, how, in what world is this making sense? It's like so far, like when we watch Mad Men, it like takes place in like 1962 or something, and it's like, people lived like this, with these like kinds of double standards between the genders, but that was like 1962, this is BC 600s, or 500s. So obviously it's going to be absolutely disgusting in some ways when it comes to the way that women are spoken about. Whatever means 3 dots, none means 3 dots. Less than 12 years means not attained to 12 years. Wait a minute. A nun married less than 12 years, that does mean married for less than 12 years, right? Not like a married nun who's under the age of 12. Maybe the translation is not good. Girl married means one cohabitating with a man. Should ordain means 3 dots, parentheses, C61. I don't want to write it all in, end parentheses, 3 dots, and an offensive wrongdoing for the group and for the woman teacher. If she thinks that it is less than 12 years when it is less than 12 years, parentheses, and what is, how many years she's been married have to do with anything? I mean, maybe it's like the kind of situation where like a little boy and a little girl are like, oh, you guys are engaged. Oh, now we're going to have the ceremony. And they're actually like 4. And it's just, well, we might as well do the ceremony now since we're not giving them a choice about who they're marrying. We'll just marry them as 4-year-olds. And so we're talking about a 16-year-old girl who maybe might complain a bit more about mosquitoes than someone who's in her 20s. I don't know. It's unclear. It's too far back in the fog of history to really make sense out of this rule. If she is in doubt as to whether it is less than 12 years, 3 dots, offensive wrongdoing. If she thinks that 12 years are completed when it is less than 12 years, 3 dots, no offense. If she thinks that it is less than 12 years when 12 years are not completed, there is an offensive wrongdoing. If she is in doubt as to whether 12 years are completed, there is an offensive wrongdoing. If she thinks that 12 years are completed when 12 years are completed, there is no offense. There is no offense if she ordains one, parentheses, married, and parentheses, for less than 12 years, thinking that 12 years are completed. If she attains one who has completed 12 years, thinking that they are completed, if she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer. Weird rule. Next. So that was 65. We can remember Pācittiya 65 is that weird one where it's about they have to be married for 12 years or more, not 11 years. Being married for 11 years, you're underqualified to be a nun because you will complain about growing pains and menstrual cramps and gadflies and mosquitoes too much, and wind and sun. Different time. Expiation, Pācittiya 66. All right, here's hoping that this one will be better than the last one. At one time, the enlightened one, the Lord, was staying at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove in Anatta Pindika's monastery. Now at that time, nuns ordained a girl, married for full 12 years, parentheses, but, and parentheses, who had not trained for 2 years in the 6 rules. So several rules ago, there's a rule established against ordaining somebody who hasn't trained for 2 years in the 6 rules. Now they're going to do a special rule for ones who have attained the minimum age requirement, I guess. And I'll just keep reading. It's a little silly in my, maybe I'm missing something. Of course I'm missing something. I must be missing something. Okay, these were ignorant, inexperienced. They did not know what was allowable or what was not allowable. Those who were modest nuns, 3 dots, spread it about, saying, quote, how can these nuns ordain a girl married for full 12 years, parentheses, but, and parentheses, who has not trained for 2 years in the 6 rules, end quote, 3 dots. This never happened. This is not how people think or talk. I mean, really, this is not, that's ridiculous. Why would you, like if cops are arresting somebody for stealing a cigar, they're not going to say, how can this person, though they are wearing pants, which you should wear pants, not walk around naked, even though they're not naked, they stole that cigar. Like, that's not natural thinking or speaking. This is a weird thing. This never happened. I'm going to keep reading them because it is the Tipiṭaka. It's the closest thing we have to what actually happened. But this never happened. Quote, is it true, as is said, monks? 3 dots, end quote. I'm with you, Miss Horner. Let's just put 3 dots over the whole thing. The enlightened one, the Lord, rebuked them, saying, quote, how, monks, can these nuns ordain 3 dots in the 6 rules? It is not, monks, for pleasing those who are not, parentheses, yet, and parentheses, please, 3 dots. I'll read one more after this, so don't click away just yet. Maybe it's compulsive, but I don't want to skip the rest of this. I'm going to read every word of every rule in the order that they're given. End quote, and having rebuked them, having given reason talk, he addressed the monks, saying, quote, I allow you, monks, to give a girl married for full 12 years the agreement as to training for 2 years in the 6 rules. And thus, monks, should it be given. That girl married for full 12 years, having approached the order, 3 dots, parentheses, it's the same as in 63, and parentheses, 3 dots, should speak thus, quote, unquote, ladies, I, so-and-so, a girl married for full 12 years, and who am under the lady so-and-so, if you know what I mean. Request the order, 3 dots, parentheses, it's the same as in 63. Instead of probationer, read a girl married for full 12 years, end parentheses, 3 dots. So do I understand this, end quote, within quotes. That girl married for full 12 years should be told, quote, speak thus, 3 dots, parentheses, it's the same as in 63. Remember 63, Pācittiya 60? It's the same as that part in that rule, the part of this rule that corresponds with the similar part in that rule. Just read that. End parentheses, 3 dots, and quote within quotes. End quote. This rule, or quote, I don't know what they're doing with the quotes. Quote, so end quote within quotes, and then quote without an end quotes. Fun Fun stuff. 3 dots, this rule of training. Whatever nun should ordain a girl married for full 12 years, parentheses, but, and parentheses, who has not trained for 2 years in the 6 rules, there is an offense of expiation. Whatever means 3 dots. Nun means 3 dots. Full 12 years means attained to 12 years. Girl means one cohabitate. Oh, girl married. Girl married means one cohabitating with a man. 2 years means 3 dots. I bet it means 2 years. There is no offense if she ordains a girl married for full 12 years and who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules. If she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer. All right. For better or for worse, and my eyes drifted over, and spoilers, it's for worse. I'm going to read one more. Hopefully it's better than the previous one. It's not. Expiation, Pācittiya, 67. Just come back in a year. We'll be done with the Vinaya Piṭaka. We can get into the teachings of the Buddha. It's just going to be more of this every day for another year. At one time, the Enlightened One, the Lord, was staying at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's monastery. Now, at that time, nuns ordained a girl married for full 12 years and who had trained for 2 years in the 6 rules, but who was not agreed upon by the order. Nuns spoke thus, quote, "Come, probationers, 3 dots, parentheses, same as 64, and parentheses, 3 dots. End quote, 3 dots. Quote, how can these nuns ordain a girl married for full 12 years and who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules, but who is not agreed upon by the order? End quote, 3 dots. Similarly, how can that man, though he be wearing pants like you're supposed to, it's the law, don't walk around showing your bits to the public, and also he didn't jaywalk, he crossed the street at the properly delineated crosswalk with the lines painted on the road, though he is wearing pants and crossed at the crosswalk, how dare he steal that cigar? Let's make a specific rule for that that's different from the one where he's just wearing no pants. Never mind, I'm just going to keep reading. This is what we're doing. I'm going to read this. Okay. He addressed the monks, saying, quote, I allow you, monks, to give the agreement as to ordination to a girl married for full 12 years and who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules. End quote within quotes. What? And thus, monks, should it be given that girl married for full 12 years and who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules, having approached the order, 3 dots, it's the same, you remember 63, and parentheses, 3 dots, should speak thus, quote within quotes, ladies, I so-and-so, a girl married for full 12 years and who has trained under the lady so-and-so for 2 years in the 6 rules, request the order for the agreement as to ordination, end quote within quotes. And a second time, 3 dots. Parentheses, it's the same as Pācittiya 63. Thank you, Train, for making it a little more interesting. Instead of probationer, read girl married for full 12 years and who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules. Instead of agreement as to training for 2 years in the 6 rules, read agreement as to ordination. End parentheses, 3 dots. Quote within quotes, so do I understand this, end quote within quotes, end quotes. Then the Lord, having rebuked these nuns in many a figure for their weakness in maintaining themselves, three dots. Quote, three dots. This rule of training. Whatever nun should ordain a girl married for full 12 years and who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules, parentheses, but, end parentheses, who is not agreed upon by the order, there is an offense of expiation, end quote, whatever means, three dots. Nun means three dots. Full 12 years means attained to 12 years. Girl married means one cohabitating with. Has agreed means has trained in the 6 rules. Has trained means has trained in the 6 rules. Not agreed upon means the agreement as to ordination is not given by a parentheses formal end parentheses act, at which the motion is followed by one proclamation. Should ordain means three dots, parentheses, same as 61. There was a part similar to this in 61, and what they said there should go here because it's the same. End parentheses, three dots. There is no offense if she ordains a girl married for full 12 years who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules and who is agreed upon by the order, if she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer. In other words, it's not a crime if a mad nun does this stuff. Okay, so I was going to leave it at that, but then I peeked ahead slightly, and this one is short, and it involves Tulananda, so maybe we'll have a little bit of cartoonic relief at the end, at least. Expiation, Pācittiya, 68. At one time, the Enlightened One, the Lord, was staying at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's monastery. Now, at that time, the nun Tulananda, all right, that's Tulananda, having ordained the woman who lived with her for 2 years, neither helped her nor had her helped. These were ignorant, inexperienced. They did not know what was allowable or what was not allowable. Those who were modest nuns, three dots, spread it about, saying, quote, how can the lady Tulananda, having ordained the woman who lives with her for 2 years, neither help her nor have her helped? End quote. Three dots. Quote, is it true, as is said, monks, that the nun Tulananda, three dots, nor had her helped? End quote. Quote, it is true, Lord. End quote. The Enlightened One, the Lord, rebuked them, saying, quote, how, monks, can the nun Tulananda, three dots, nor have her helped? It is not, monks, for pleasing those who are not, parentheses, yet, end parentheses, pleased, three dots, this rule of training. Whatever nun, having ordained the woman who lives with her for 2 years, should neither help her nor have her helped, there is an offense of expiation. This is like a very specific rule. Like there used to be the Upananda rules that were rules just for Upananda, or Udayin rules specifically for Udayin. This is a Tulananda rule. This is like, don't do that thing that Tulananda did that one time that, okay. Whatever means three dots, nun means three dots. Woman who lives with her means she is called the one who lives with her, who shares her cell. Having ordained means having conferred the upasampada orientation. 2 years means, I guess it's 2 years. Should neither help her means should not help her in regard to the exposition, the interrogation, the exhortation, the instruction. Nor have her helped means should not command another to do so, I would assume, right? If for 2 years she thinks, quote, I will neither help her nor have her helped, end quote, in throwing off the responsibility, there is an offense of expiation. there is no offense. If there is an obstacle, if, having looked about, she does not get the chance, if she is ill, if there are accidents, if she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer. All right, well, you know, I'll keep reading them. Sometimes they're interesting and fun to read. Other times, well, anyway, if you're still watching, hi. Please feel free to subscribe and smash that like button down below since you're here. I mean, I assume that there's some reason you haven't clicked away yet. I don't know what it is. If I were you, I would have clicked away. All right, I wish everyone the best, and I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world right now. And if you're interested, on my other channel, the Esoteric Nerd Podcast, I just put up a new episode. It actually went up this morning. It's a entirely different topic. I will go ahead and do the usual closing, the prayer that my father and I used to do when I was young. To the north and to the south, to the east and to the west, to the spirits of light among us, and to the spirits below, we send out our reverent love and compassion. May all beings be happy. May all beings be serene. May all beings be in peace. Until next time.